Ladies and gentlemen, it is a monumental day today, for I have recently purchased a Gen 5 M90 Supercharger. I've been looking for one of these since forever, and my dad and I went to the junkyard the other day, our favorite junkyard, and I was on the phone with someone, and I was walking by and I happened to glance down, and I saw this, and I freaked out. And I was like, Dad, it's a Gen 5! Because I've been looking for one of these forever. And it just happened to be sitting there. And so I pulled the supercharger, I pulled the lower intake manifold and all the hardware that goes with it, and I got the entire setup for $150, which is a great deal. Now this supercharger is going in my 1969 Chevy Corvair on an S10 frame. I'm not quite sure what year this supercharger came off of. I know, if I'm not mistaken, it was 2007 that the Gen 5 blowers came out. So it was 2007 and newer. It came off a Grand Prix, and the car had 198,000 miles, which is quite a bit. My engine came from a car with 130,000 miles, which is pretty low for a 3800. Anyway, if you've been following this build for a while, you know on my Series 2 Gen 3 blower, I had to cut the back of the supercharger off at a 45-degree angle, weld on an aluminum 180-degree bend, and put the throttle body right here, because I did not want to put a hole in my firewall to fit the throttle body, because I thought that was stupid. So yes, I am about to cut up this Gen 5 blower. However, I'm going to do it differently, and I wish I would have done it like this on my current setup, but live and learn. Instead of cutting this at a 45-degree angle this way, I want to cut it this way and take the pipe and bend it up over like that, weld the flange to the throttle body here, and have the throttle body sit right here. Not upright, but still in its factory horizontal position. That's what I want to do, and I think it will flow a lot better, I think it will look better, and at that point I can put one of these on the engine, and I think that will give me the old school look that I've been going for in this car. So, without further ado, we're going to start disassembling this supercharger. I need to pull off the factory 3-inch pulley on the front here because I have a modular hub on mine that I'm going to be taking. I actually have a bunch of new parts on that engine that I'm going to be taking and putting it on this supercharger. It should be a direct bolt-on. I don't even think we have to do tuning. These make 20 horsepower more than the Gen 3 blowers, so what I was told is my computer will be able to compensate for that. So we should be good. So, yeah, without further ado, let's kind of start disassembling this. Also, another thing on the Gen 5 blowers, the throttle body was wire driven, where a Gen 3 was cable driven, which means wire is done electronically, cable is done with a physical cable going from your gas pedal over. I'm going to be running my L67 Gen 3 throttle body, which is cable, so this is basically going to be like a hybrid. Actually, you know what? I'm going to try to get the pulley off. I think that might be easier while it's still attached to the supercharger. Okay, I think we got her all set up. This, I'm going to be honest with you guys, looks pretty stuck on there. It's pretty rusty. Oh my gosh. Alright, I gotta take like a 5-minute break. I'm like out of breath from doing that. Holy crap, that was so stuck on there.
Wow.
Look at this. That destroyed the pulley. It's all dented now. Wow. That was really on there. I really hope that didn't damage the shaft there. I don't think it did. Everything still looks straight when I spin it. So I think we're good, but yikes. Well, that pulley's junk now, but it is a factory pulley, so nobody really... It's not like a huge demand for those. Well, I got all of the bolts out except for one because it stripped on me. I can't, it won't even grab. So, not sure what I'm gonna do there. All right, got the case separated. Just had to gently pry on it a little bit. It's almost like it's the sealant here to keep it from leaking kind of glues it together. And even though I dumped most of the oil, there's still quite a bit in there. So I was starting to get worried here for a second. It was not coming out. So I took a file and filed it flat on each side. And then 2 vice grips locked onto it, and it's starting to come. So, all right, so here is my current setup. Please ignore the lack of belt. That's a different story. Anyway, you can see how I cut that. Not quite at a 45-degree angle, but I've just always called it a 45-degree angle. And then one other thing is you can see this thing here is off center where the one on my Gen 5 is here. So it looks like at the case to right where that cut is exactly 11 inches. And if we do that here, put her at 11-ish, that puts us right into that port. So what I'm thinking is that will be my initial cut. Let's just say maybe there. I'll just put a little mark there. So that will be my cut. Okay, let me get some more measurements quick. To the firewall, to the case is right about 13 1/16. So we're just gonna call it 13. If we go here, right there, 13 is right there. So she's gonna be cutting her close. That's gonna be close. So, yeah. All right, I think I have a plan. I think I'm initially going to do the cut here and make it flush with this, and then probably go straight down because I won't need any of that, but it'd be nice to obviously keep this hole and then keep this one as well because that's one of the mounting spots. So keep that just to kind of help hold it down. And then that 180-degree bend is gonna be super tight. So, okay, so that took like probably 20-25 minutes to cut through, and at the end I didn't even get through it all the way. I knew that I was close, so I just took a dead blow and broke it off. Yeah, wow, that's hot. My hacksaw is hot. All right, so this is the update now. Where'd that piece go? Yeah, same thing. That took me a while to cut off, but I was just being really careful. As you can see, this got a little funky over here, but I think I'm gonna still try to shave him down. It's just really hard to cut through aluminum when you don't have aluminum stuff. Anyway, so my theory was correct. That goes to about right there. That's just too much. So 13 is where we need to be. We're at about 16 3/4. So yeah, that needs to go in a bit yet. So I'm thinking, oh man. All right, we are back. It is the next day. Working on Supercharged 3800. This is my Gen 3. So I went over to my friend Tony's house, who is the one who's going to be welding it up for me. And he helped me out with some stuff. We're no longer going to be using this piece. He found on eBay 2 really tight, thick-walled aluminum 3-inch 90-degree bends. And I like that because he said something that stuck with me, and that was flow can affect power, but not as much as resistance. And so if you remember, I was going to have that 90-degree, the hole here with a 90-degree, and then it was just going to kind of do some stuff back here and then get sucked into the supercharger. And he said that you really want to kind of keep that flowing. And so he ended up finding those online, and he ordered them, and then I paid him for it. And so there's that. And then, so yeah, there's that. So I don't know how much of this footage I'm going to use of mocking this up. So I'm actually no longer going to be modifying this case. And by that, I mean, me personally is not going to be modifying that case. I am going to be taking this to Tony's house tomorrow, and he is going to start modifying it. I'm going to literally tell him, I am giving you permission to cut this case up in a way that you see fit. So yeah, so we'll see what he does. I'm not nervous. I'm more excited. Wow, you are really fast at that. All right, so this is my Gen 3 upside down. Before we get to that, I want to give a massive shout out to Tony, because none of this would have happened without him. And it's not just because he has an aluminum welder. I mean, that is part of it. But it's because Tony's the kind of person that I can go to him with a pile of scrap metal and say, Tony, I don't know how this is going to work, but I need it to work. And a day later, he has half of it not only figured out, but half of it already built. I'm going to put some pictures up on the screen as kind of a teaser of what he was sending me. And as you're looking at these pictures, I want you to really look at what it looks like in the building process, because when I got these pictures, I was excited because I knew what the end product was going to look like, but I knew that it wasn't there yet, if that makes sense. So when you look at these pictures, just keep in mind what I have off camera right here. So I dropped off the supercharger on, I think it was Monday or Tuesday of this week, and then he ordered some parts, and the parts came in on Wednesday morning. Wednesday night, he sent me pictures. Thursday night, he sent me more pictures. Friday, I went over to his place. We got most of it mocked up to the point it was pretty well there. And then Saturday, we hit it hard. I showed up a little bit later. He had most of the heavy lifting done, we'll say, which is like the designing and building. And then the rest of Saturday evening and into the night was us having fun figuring out how everything was going to go together. So I really want to give out a huge shout out to Tony, because this truly would not have happened without him. So Tony, if you're watching, thank you. I really cannot thank you enough. Tony actually runs his own shop, kind of. He does a lot of work for people. You know, anything from basic to, I'm assuming, like, if you needed a wheel bearing changed, Tony can help you. If you need a Gen 5 supercharger modified to beyond recognition, what I'm about to show you, he can do that. So I live in Northeast Iowa. Tony lives in Northeast Iowa. If you want a true, dare I say, shade tree mechanic, but he has a nice shop, I'm going to put his contact info down below. And if you need something custom built for your race car and you live in Northeast Iowa, Southeast Minnesota, part of Wisconsin, let me know in the comments. I'll get you his contact info because his work is out of this world. Okay, enough talking about Tony. We're not done talking about Tony though. The reason I've never really been able to drive this car with the Gen 3 Supercharger is because I had a massive vacuum leak and I was never able to find it. Alright, you ready for this? 62.8 pounds of Gen 5 awesomeness. Do you see this? Are you looking at this? This is the coolest thing I've ever been a part of building, and I would love to take credit and say this is the coolest thing I've ever built, but I didn't really build this. This was Tony. Now, I will say the design, the overall design is mine. I'm taking credit for that. But the actual building and craftsmanship that went into this is Tony. So let's get this disassembled so I can show you what we did. Starting off with the street scoop. So, starting with the mounting. 4 bolts, 4 10mm bolts holds this scoop very firmly to the supercharger. So let's get that off. I'm going to show you a quick close-up first. So, again, it's not done. You can see a lot of it is, but we got 1, 2, and then 3, 4 bolts hold the top of the street scoop on. So let me get those off, and then I'll show you what else we did. I do need some better hardware for the bottom. This is what came with the scoop. It's not very long, and I'd like to do some like Allen heads or something. And then I will probably have to Loctite them just with some blue Loctite, just to kind of help hold them in place. So there's that. And then this just lifts off like that, okay? And now I'm going to show you the bottom of the supercharger. So you can see we sectioned this to the radius of the pipe on the back. And then you can see how there used to be ears, like kind of mounting areas here and here, here and here. We cut those off, and then we also had to cut into the scoop here for the specialty air filter. I didn't really want to do this, but this really doesn't bother me because it's going to be on, like no one's going to be able to see it unless you're looking underneath. My original idea was we'll kind of shimmy the air filter in here, mount it, and then reach in through the front and kind of finagle it onto it. And that just didn't work. So we did have to cut into this to make it fit. And then we just used the stock mounting here. The throttle cable right here kind of gets in the way, so that will be trimmed up a little bit. But other than that, it just literally... like it's meant to be. All right, we're going to start with the air filter. I really wanted this style oval air filter because the round one wouldn't fit. And I wanted one with the hole right here because, you know, the butterflies, that's going to almost act like a ram air, and it will be a true cold air intake. So this filter here shipped to my apartment was like $70. It's an expensive filter, but it's a nice quality. And then it is a little hard to get on because of the ribs. So we took some silicone grease that won't eat the rubber and just very gently on here and on here. And now this slides on very easily. And then I do have a hose clamp, but yeah, you can see it goes on like that. So there's that. Next, we had to shave a little bit off the top of the supercharger. So the fins here, you can see we had to kind of shave them down, and then we cut the here where the bolts go in at a slight angle there. And that is so this can go on and it just fits perfectly. We were really careful to not really cut too far into the case. We didn't warp anything. Everything still spins freely. So the air flowing in is going to kind of go over top of the supercharger here and keep it cool. So I'm not too concerned about that. Everything is made out of aluminum. This hasn't been ground down yet. All right. I just want to make that clear. But you can see like the bracket here was made in like great detail to match the contour of the case. So just something as simple as that. And then this piece here, right? You see how nice and bent up this is? Tony didn't even really measure it. He just bent it up in his bender and cut it, and it fits literally perfectly. It would have taken me an hour to build this, and then it wouldn't have even fit in the end. So that's just like the craftsmanship Tony has. So then we get to the back here, talking about the rabbit ears. Pretty simple, just welded those on. Yeah, it needs to be ground down yet, I know. And then I am going to cut on this black line. And then look at that. That is a port for my PCV valve. And that goes to right there. So I'll just have a line that snakes around to right there. Super simple there. These pieces, it was two 90-degree aluminum, really thick wall bends. And he cut up the back of the supercharger. I'll put those pictures back up on screen so you can see. And just kind of made it work. The top one is basically all solid. The bottom one, he cut and hacked up to make it fit. So instead of cutting a hole in the top like what I was going to do and just have it go straight in and then the air goes over, the entire thing curves and like the air moves very flowingly. And then he also sanded the inside. He almost ported the inside to kind of help with airflow. So he did a really good job there. And then here, the vacuum port is really cool because he put it on the back here. And then I'm going to see if I can get a light in there. Hold on. So you can see there, he drilled these holes there on the flat part here. And it's going to work. Trust me, that's going to work. And that way, the air being sucked in isn't really going to disrupt the flow here. It's just really well thought out. So I have a metal vacuum tree that I ordered from ZZP, and that is going to go right there, and that will look really nice. And that way, my vacuum lines will kind of be out of the way. So there's that. And then not to mention, just look at that. He like sanded it and everything. It just looks so good. Yeah, there's a little bit of pitting, whatever, but I'm not concerned about that. Actually, what I'm thinking is buying some metal reinforced filler, body filler, and just kind of filling that in, because I am going to paint this in some kind of way. Not like bright red or anything, probably like a brushed aluminum look or something like that. So yeah, there's that. And then let me get the bottom of the case off here. Bam! Silencer ports welded closed. Now, I know what you're saying, not full beads. There's no full beads. Everyone that I talked to who welded their silencer ports closed did not do full beads for the fear of warping it. You only need to really tack it in really well, and it's tacked in really well. And the aluminum we used was really thick aluminum. It was like, I think like a 1/4 inch thick bar stock aluminum that we beveled the edges to kind of fit them into the grooves better, and there it does not protrude through the top. Yeah, a little bit of air will sneak past, but that's okay. Another thing people recommend is you epoxy them in, metal epoxy, and I don't agree with that because I think that could let loose. So we welded the silencer ports closed. And look how big these are. Those are like what, an inch? Let's look at the silencer ports on my Gen 3. Look at how big those are. See if you can get the camera in there. Look at how big those are. It's like the length of my finger. And then not only that, the opening itself, while not being very nicely made, see the cut is super wonky there, not very big. You go to the Gen 5, so much bigger, and it's nice and smooth. It's like made with love, you know? So the Gen 5 is just a better flowing supercharger overall. So yeah, so there's that. All right, and then moving on to the inside of the supercharger here, you can see when he welded it on, right? Tony really spent, he had like, I'm not kidding, probably 10 different air tools with different bits, burring bits, sandpaper bits, different grits of sandpaper, and he really smoothed this out. It is so smooth. Very, very dirty though. Very smooth though. And then just in there when he welded it together, it's just really hard to kind of get in there and clean it out. So stuff like that I'm not really too concerned about. But I think we'll be okay. All right, again, the case is filthy. I'm going to clean it. Starting with the bearings, I just want to make something clear. We packed those full of paper towels and really made sure to just watch around the bearings. I really should replace them, but I was talking to someone who said that you don't really have to. I should just re-grease them, so that's what I'm going to do. And then here's the top of the silencer ports. As you can see, does not protrude at all. And then this is probably going to be the best you'll be able to actually see into the back of the case. You can see a few parts that has some slag on it, but yeah, it's going to be the best you guys can see. I'm sorry. So anyway, yeah, as you can see, this is exactly how I pictured this turning out. Exactly. And I was going to do it to this case. I found this case in the junkyard a few days before I was going to pull the trigger on cutting up this case. Alrighty, please ignore that cricket chirping in the background. So it's been a few days since I've recorded anything for the supercharger video. So what I'm going to do today is I am going to, brace yourselves, sandblast this casing. And this as well. I'm not going to sandblast this though. And then I am also going to sandblast the intake manifold. And then I got aluminum spray paint, and I got clear coat as well. High temperature paint and clear coat. I think what I'm going to do though is I'm going to completely assemble the supercharger to the point that it's ready to go in the car, and then paint it all at once. That's what I'm thinking there. The intake manifold will be painted orange though, but this will be painted aluminum, as a matter of fact. That is the color right there. So, without further ado, I'm going to spend some time masking the crap out of this, and then we can get to sandblasting. All right, I got this masked up really well. Multiple layers of tape. Plugged up the holes. It's really masked. I know I use duct tape. Now, a sandblaster will probably cut through duct tape. I'm going to avoid duct tape, or shooting right at the duct tape, and then also like along the edges and stuff where sand can get in. But I taped it really good, so I think I'm going to be okay. All right, just got done blasting the case. You can still see like some imperfections, or not even imperfections, just like almost like dirty aluminum. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because I don't want to, and I'm going to paint it, and no one's really going to see it, but I just wanted I wanted to clean it up, and I wanted it to kind of be a uniform texture. And then as far as all these like pock marks, I'm going to explain about that here in a second. So now I just need a quick blast to that, and then I'm going to tape off the intake manifold as well. Got this all painted up, all dry, looks pretty good. Anyway, these taps here, what is this? This is 3/8, and this is 1/4. We have to tap the coolant ports on there because we no longer need them. And then we need to drill a new coolant temperature sensor hole because I'm running 2 temperature sensors, one for the ECU and one mechanical gauge for me. So that is something we need to do to that yet. Oh yeah, and make sure these are NPT, which means they're tapered. I think NPT stands for National Pipe Thread, maybe? I don't know. And then I also got high temperature metal, or just high temperature epoxy. And the reason I'm doing that is to fill these imperfections here, because regular body filler would not hold. So this is good for 550 degrees Fahrenheit. The hottest I've ever seen this get was like 130, I think. So I think I'm going to be okay. All right, got this all untaped, looking great. Pulled the last piece off. Remembered I forgot to clear coat it. And then one other thing, this came off a car with almost 200,000 miles, and all the threads are just filthy. So I'm going to round every thread on the intake and on the supercharger, and I'm just going to be cleaning them up a little bit. So as you can see, these aren't that bad, but the ones on the actual case were pretty bad. All right, and then you just really want to be careful. You don't want to send that tap like really far in, because then your plugs here will fall all the way through, and you don't want to do that. Why you want NPT is because it's tapered, and that's so you can tighten it down without it bottoming out on something. So it needs to be NPT. I got this kit off Amazon for like 20 bucks. Comes with a bunch of different sizes. So we are good there. On my current setup, I used red Loctite, and a lot of people were like, oh no, you shouldn't do that. Red Loctite won't hold up. And it's held up just fine. Yeah, here's a perfect example. I got pretty far on that one. Want to be careful there. They're like, don't use red Loctite, blah, blah, blah. It's been fine. However, I am not going to use red Loctite this time. I'm going to use epoxy, because these never truly have to come out again. So there's that. And then also, even though this is illegal, you could, in theory, take one of these and plug up your EGR valve. But again, it is illegal to do that. So definitely don't find a, what is that, 1/2 inch? 3/4? No, that's half. Don't find a 1/2 inch NPT thread and thread that in. That wouldn't be good. That'd be illegal. And then tomorrow I will do the 3/8 by 18 hole right here for my other temperature sensor. I want to wait to do that to make sure I have the position correct. So this is just about done. We're just going to dab some epoxy on here, make sure this really doesn't leak. And then we can start doing body work on the supercharger. That'll be cool. Maybe we'll paint it tonight. I don't know. I don't know how long that takes to dry. But yeah, anyway, epoxy time. Okay, I hope I never have to take those out because they're not coming out. All right, we got this kind of smeared on here. Not very pretty at the moment, but I have faith that I can make it look somewhat good. So it takes like an hour to set up and another 24 hours to fully cure. So I'm gonna give it an hour, and then I'm thinking it will be set up enough that I can like kind of sand it, but not set up enough that it's going to be impossible to sand. So I'm actually seeing some spots that I missed right there. So I'm going to get that, and then I'm going to let it set up for a little bit. Okay, just spent some time sanding down the high temperature epoxy. I'm going to be honest, I feel like a lot of this was kind of a waste of my time. It didn't even fill all the imperfections. I mean, it works, it's smooth, it's definitely smooth, but the problem is now this is super nice and smooth, and then you got this rough texture here, so I just kind of feel like maybe I shouldn't have done that. My one saving grace is that I'm going to have the throttle body here and the hood, the scoop over top of it, so no one's really going to see it. So I don't know. It's okay. I'm not going to lose sleep over it. So I'm going to degrease this again, degrease that, put it together, and I'm just going to paint it all in one shot to keep it consistent. I think that's what will probably be best. So I'm going to get some of that ready. I need to move this car out of the garage. Maybe someday I'll finish it. Probably not today, though. We'll get this painted. I think then once this is painted and I'm going to give it a little bit to cure, I'm going to bolt it to the intake, which looks really good, might I say. Bolt it down and then clear coat all of that. at once, clear coat it, because it will be masked off, if that makes sense. Whatever, I don't know anything. Clear coat it, and then I'm thinking we might be installing this new supercharger today. I think I can probably lock in, as the kids say, and get this installed. So without further ado, let's get this painted. Dang, I did just clean this up with a brass wire brush, some different brushes. Ooh, that looks pretty dang good. That looks good. However, I don't want to spend the next 2 days cleaning all this up, not to mention I already got that crap on it. So, yeah, we're just going to paint it. This was the move by far. This was a good idea. It is kind of hard to see what I've painted and what I haven't painted because of how well it matches. From what I'm seeing so far, the imperfections aren't that bad. Yo, that is what is up. That looks so good. You know, and like I again, you got some weirdness with the texture, but the throttle body, which I have to paint, just remember that the throttle body will be there, and then there's going to be all this other stuff there, so you're really not even going to see that. So I'm not too concerned about all that. So I'm going to let this dry for a while, and then I'm going to kind of tilt it up and spray some of the stuff underneath, and then hopefully probably give this just as much time to cure as it needs. All right, according to the clear coat can, it says spray clear coat within 1 hour. So, okay, cool. That gives me time to kind of clean some stuff up. I'm going to take the throttle body off of the car, and yeah, I'm really, really excited for that. That looks really good. That's good. Okay, got that all installed. The factory one with the red on the threads, you don't need to put anything on the threads. This one here with my finger there, I put some red Loctite on it and then tightened it down. But you want to be careful because you're tightening brass into aluminum. But my finger is there holding the water in because I am just doing a leak test and I don't see any water leaking out. So I think we're good to go. All right, so now we are at a temporary stopping point again because I have something important to say. As you know, I have had a vacuum leak on this that I cannot chase down. And I am obviously replacing a lot of stuff that it could potentially be. One of them being the lower intake manifold gaskets. The rubber here can like separate or not seal properly and give you a vacuum leak. Now, believe it or not, these are brand new. I got these because I originally got these plastic ones, and a lot of people were like, don't do that. Plastic ain't good. So I bought the expensive ones right here. I don't think it's this. I really hope it isn't, but there's a good chance it could be because I've tried everything else. So this is what I'm going to do. We're going to basically assemble the car most of the way. We're going to put this on, we're going to put the supercharger in, we're going to hook up basically everything with these in it. And then we're going to start the car for a little bit. We're not going to let it run long enough because we're not going to do the coolant bleed or anything like that. If I am still having vacuum leak issues, we're going to disassemble it, take these out, and put the plastic ones in. These plastic ones have never been ran before. Put those in, do the same thing, put it together, start it up. If it doesn't have a vacuum leak, then it is obviously those. But if it does still have a vacuum leak, then who knows what it is? Not me. Anyway, so without further ado, I'm going to put all this together. Oh, just kidding. Before I can do that, I have to take the modular hub off of that one and install it on this one. I have to do that first. Yo! Look at that!
Oh my gosh. Guys, fellow viewers, is that not like the coolest thing you've ever seen? I am going to polish this case. It's got water spots on it. And then what I'm going to do, because this is going to stick out of the hood, I'm going to ceramic coat it to protect it. But, oh my gosh. That looks so good. Oh my God. Sorry, I can't stop smiling right now. Oh my gosh. All right, just spent probably the last 10 minutes cleaning up the case. Just doing a bunch of cleaning. We got this all cleaned up and bolted down. This is my ZZP aluminum, I think it's called like a vacuum tree. And what's cool about this is when Tony went to install this, I told him to make sure that he had this clocked right. So that way that faces towards my brake booster there. And then one of these is for the boost bypass, and the other one I just have capped off. But that will here in the near future become the vacuum line for a catch can. So let's get this installed quick. Haha, just kidding. Forgot to install the butterfly valve for the boost bypass. But I'm going to quick just wire brush that, clean it up, make it look nice, and then we can install it. Okay, got that all nicely cleaned up. Got the screws cleaned up. Going to assemble that, and then just a little bit of blue Loctite. You have to put this into the supercharger first, and then drop that in, and then assemble it. I won't be able to do that while filming. It's pretty simple. I have faith that you will be able to figure that out. So we got that all put back together. That is very nice and smooth. So here's the thing. I'm going to actually assemble this outside the car, but the problem is that you have to use very special grease for the needle bearings in the back. You can't use regular high temperature grease. You have to use genuine Eaton grease. And I ordered some. It comes in a little cup like that. It's like less than half an ounce. It's $15. And it's coming in the mail, but it won't be here till Monday. But I can't leave this like this till Monday. So when Tony and I were working on this, welding it up, and even for me today, I stuffed the bearings full of those blue rags, and then I put tape over top of them. So no crap is in it. There's also grease still on here. So what I'm saying is I'm going to put this in, start it up, make sure we don't have any issues with vacuum leaks, and then I'm not going to drive this until Monday when I get the grease. I can't run this without the oil in here, in this part. See that drain plug or fill plug right there? So the problem is you have to assemble everything, and if I go to disassemble it, well, then the oil is going to leak out. So what I'm going to do is they recommend you take something called, I think it's anaerobic gasket maker. The top of my toolbox is very dirty. Please be it. Don't be red Loctite. Dang it. That is red Loctite. I have some in here. It's anaerobic gasket maker, and it, is this it right here? Jackpot. Yes. Yes. Anaerobic gasket maker. And you're supposed to basically you don't have to do it on this face, but you do it on this face. But I'm going to use this as an example. Put just a little on. Use your finger to kind of work it in. So I'm going to do that. And then when I go to take apart the supercharger, I'm going to clamp the front part of the supercharger and the middle part of the supercharger together very tightly and pull it apart super carefully and make sure that none of the oil leaks out when I go on Monday to do this. Or I try sucking some of the oil out. Maybe I'll do that instead. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to assemble this now. Yeah, and then we can get it in the car. Oh my gosh. And lastly, you guys are probably going to say, well, are you at least going to clean off the blades? And the answer is no. You don't really want to clean them off, and you definitely don't want to clean them off with brake clean because it will take off the coating that Eaton put on it from the factory. Now, I asked the 3800 forum on Facebook, like, hey, can I clean this off? This is really dirty. And they were like, no, because all this grime, carbon buildup, all this crap packed on here basically helps seal up the supercharger and helps with the flow and produce more boost. So you really don't want to clean it, and you don't have to. So we're not going to. Before, after. And lastly, a new coupler bearing. That's not a bearing, that's just the coupler. I don't know why I said that. Okay. Everything is hooked up. All right, look at that. Supercharger is on. Unfortunately, my brake booster line is not long enough. Obviously, it's all the way back there. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to attach it to the vacuum tree there and then get a vice grip and clamp that off so it doesn't have a vacuum leak. And then the other thing is, as you remember, this came like that and just kind of took up a lot of room. Look at that. Look at how much room I have here. So much room for activities. So excited. And I don't have any clearance issues back here. Like, my fuel lines don't rub. Nothing's rubbing, which I really like. One thing that I did get was new fuel injector O-rings, just because mine on the bottom especially are really hard. So I think like that could have also been a problem of a vacuum leak. So I'm just going to quick switch these out. And if I'm not mistaken, you take like a little bit of oil and just kind of lube them up. To just kind of, I don't know why you do that, but that's what I'm going to do, I guess. Okay, definitely a good call, because all of them broke when I was trying to take them off, and they're really hard. So, yeah, good call. All right. Wow, I am so nervous right now. I think we got everything hooked up. Not everything is basically together, because a lot of my stuff that I had to make work for my other one won't work on this one, so I'd need longer vacuum lines, stuff like that. I closed the exhaust cutout just because it's almost 9 o'clock and I don't want to upset my neighbors. I think everything's put together properly, except for my vacuum lines. I'm like 96% sure that that's actually done right. So, look, here's the thing. I'm going to be upset if I still have the same problems, but I'm not going to be surprised. So let me crack my garage door a little bit and see what happens. I don't think I mentioned it, but I did fill the supercharger with oil. The hell was that? Try it again, I guess? I don't know. I think that might just be some oil, honestly. I think that smoke just might be some oil. I can hear it whining, which is cool.
I don't remember the last time I recorded. I think I was... Whoa. As I was saying, I don't remember the last time I recorded when was the last time I recorded. I think it was when I was having problems still with the Gen 3 setup and the vacuum leak, and it was just... I couldn't figure it out. I don't remember when it was the last I filmed. I'm sorry. But here's the thing. This is going to be probably a lot of boring information, but I really want you guys to stick with it if you care. If not, you can skip ahead, but I'm not going to tell you when to skip ahead because I think this is important. So when I had my Gen 3 setup, I very clearly had a vacuum leak. And everyone was like, Oliver, you have a vacuum leak. And I was like, I don't think that's my only problem. And so my AFR gauge, I think a stock Bonneville Series 2 2000s engine, you know, whatever mine is tuned as, I think the AFR is like 14.7 to 1. Which is a little bit more lean. I think that's to kind of help with fuel economy and stuff. And mine was much higher. It was anywhere from 17, 18. I sometimes even saw 19 cruising or even at idle. And I was like, what is this? Like, I couldn't figure it out. And so I built my own smoke machine, my own homemade vacuum leak smoke machine out of a pickle jar and a soldering iron. And I actually ended up finding like 2 leaks. One of them was my PCV valve. I never hooked that back up, which technically you don't hook it up because when the throttle body is on the back of the supercharger, it's just hooked up already. But for me, I had to weld on 2 ports and connect it with a rubber hose, and that was my PCV valve. And then the other one was my IAC, my idle air control valve. Around it was leaking out. So that's not good. So I replaced that, and I still had rev hang issues or vacuum leak or something. I don't know. I didn't know what it was. So I was like, screw it. I got the Gen 5. Let's throw it on there. And as you guys saw, I swapped it all out and everything I swapped out, and it still rev hanged. And I was like going to lose my mind, but I noticed something. My AFR was no longer reading really lean. It was reading at about 14.7 to 1, or in that parameters of a acceptable AFR. And I was like, wait a second, my AFR is reading right, but it still has a rev hang. So I was like, that means that with my old setup, somewhere along the lines, I in fact did have a vacuum leak. And then after I switched everything out, including lower intake manifold gaskets, supercharger gaskets, everything, the AFR was reading properly. So that means somewhere, I don't know where, I did have a vacuum leak. But I was still rev hanging with the brand new Gen 5 setup. And I was going to lose my mind. And I had narrowed it down to something in my throttle body. There's 3 things in your throttle body: your mass airflow, your throttle positioning sensor, and your intake air control. And so what I did is I don't remember if I filmed this or not, I unplugged each one by one to see if it would run rough, and if it started to run rougher or didn't change at all, I was able to kind of tell that maybe it was one of those things. Well, it ran rougher with my mass airflow unplugged, it ran rough with my IAC unplugged, and it ran rough with my throttle positioning sensor unplugged. So that didn't tell me anything. But then I noticed I had a check engine light, and so I checked the check engine light, and I had 3 codes. 2 of them were the exact same for a low voltage throttle positioning sensor, and the other one was a high voltage throttle positioning sensor, something with the throttle positioning sensor. And I'm like, what's going on? So I unplugged my throttle positioning sensor, or let me rephrase that. I unscrewed it from the throttle body, but kept it plugged in, started it up, let it kind of warm up a little bit, and then I revved it, and it came back down. It did not rev hang. And I was like, wait, what? Like, what's going on here? And so I manually kind of turned it a little bit with, like, I had it plugged in, I would turn it a little bit, and it changed a little bit in the idle, but not much. So I was like, I don't know I don't know. And so I put it all back together, started it up again, revved it up, and no rev hang. None whatsoever. And I was like, what? So I unplugged my battery to kind of reset the computer. And so after a little bit of having the battery unplugged, I plugged it back in, started it up, revved it up, runs perfect. Runs phenomenally. And I was like, what the heck? And this month, I think this was like a day later or something, started it up, hit the throttle, nothing. No rev hang at all. It ran perfectly. AFR is perfect. The RPM came right back down the way it's supposed to. And I was like, what the heck? Like, what? All I did was unplug the TPS from the throttle body, but still kept it plugged into the wiring harness. And that fixed it, I think. Right? So I was like, I don't know. I'm still confused. So I drove it around for a few days, just around town and everything, in my town here, and I eventually got very comfortable driving it. You know, this was really my first time actually getting to drive it. Yeah, I've driven it a few places with the old vacuum leak, but I never got a stomp on it. I never got to drive it like it's meant to be driven because of the vacuum leak and the rev hang, and I was scared of breaking it. So earlier this week was really the first time I've ever gotten to actually drive this car. So on Tuesday, no, that was last week, I'm sorry. This Tuesday, I was like, you know what? I'm going to drive this to my apartment in the next town over, and my girlfriend goes to college there. She gets out of school at 7 o'clock at night, so I'm going to go and pick her up in this car. So I did. I ended up breaking down in the middle of an intersection. Crazy story there. I don't want to talk about it, but so far it's been doing good. I've been driving it, daily driving it for the past week now, and it's perfect. It's running flawlessly. And man, oh man, when I tell you, that supercharger whine is intoxicating. It sounds so good. I don't know. My one thing is I wish I could have had this fixed with my old supercharger setup, because then I could have maybe appreciated the power increase of the bigger supercharger. But I have already sold that supercharger to a gentleman who is putting a 3800 in his first gen S10. So I was really excited that it was going to him, because it's going in an S10, and I love S10s, so it was a win-win. So here we are, we're driving the 3800 swap Corvair S10 frame with the Gen 5 supercharger, and we're just going to drive around a little bit out in the country, because the way I drive, I'll get in trouble driving in city limits. Everything drives fine. We got great oil pressure, good temperature. AFR is looking good. As you can see, we are driving. So I'm gonna wait till we get a little bit farther outside of town to kind of open it up a little bit. Actually, it looks like we're coming up to some construction work right now. I have the exhaust dump closed at the moment. Now, unfortunately, I have a pretty bad exhaust leak.
So I hope you guys can hear the supercharger whine. And then I would plug in my external microphone, but I actually blew it out yesterday. I had it plugged in while I was doing a pull with my exhaust dump open, and it like blew out the microphone. So that's cool. Yeah, there's that exhaust leak. Backfires a little. I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but you can kind of see the linkage moving through the cowl hood there. Now you probably won't be able to see it because my window is filthy. We'll open up the exhaust dump here in a second. And then maybe do like a 0 to something pull. Unfortunately, the T5 transmission, while a very good, strong, it's a very good, strong transmission, they are very well known for having a weak first gear, so you don't really want to do like launches in it. So when you see me take off, I am going to baby first gear a little bit, but after that, it's free game. So unfortunately, this guy is going the same way. We'll wait for that semi to pass to put some distance between me and this guy. Oh, wrong gear. What a beautiful road.
It's really pretty.
Yeah, I've never really thought about this before. Now, if you're a longtime subscriber of the channel, you'll notice that this is not my typical test driving road, because we're not at my parents' house in the next town over. We're in the other town that I live in, and it's a beautiful town, as you can see. Unfortunately, at my parents' house, you know, I could drive a mile outside of town and be in farm fields. Here, you drive a mile outside of town and you're in like a rich suburb. So doing tests in my car is a little challenging, but I think we'll go outside of town a little bit. I've actually been up and down this road a bunch this week doing a bunch of pulls with the exhaust dump open, so I think these people are probably sick of me driving by their house every day. But as you can see, it just cruises so nice. This will be a quick 0 to something with the exhaust closed. Scoot's pretty good. I have been driving it for a few days now, so I am used to the car. I'm kind of learning its limits. I can tell you it is a fast, quick car, but it's not fast and quick enough. So that's going to be something that we change here in the future, but unfortunately not until I upgrade the safety of the car. So better seat belts, a half cage. There was something else I was going to do to the car. I can't remember. Oh, I need new tires and an alignment.
Mexico is beautiful this time of year. Isn't it, babe?
Yeah, dude.
Isn't Mexico so cool?
I love it here.
I love Mexico, which is where we are.
Yeah.
Wow, it's crazy. There's a river called Upper Iowa in Mexico.
Dude, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, oh my god, this is a tight bridge. Jeez. Alright, now we got the dump open. Actually, I think there's a straight, oh my god, straight stretch over here. As you can see, Gen 5 top swap works very well. I don't know what kind of power I'm putting down. I don't know what kind of boost I'm putting out. This boost gauge says 3 pounds. That seems kind of small, but it could be. And then as far as horsepower, the Gen 5 Supercharger is an instant 20 horsepower more. My previous setup was, let's say, 240, so plus the 20 is 260. I deleted power steering, I deleted AC, so I'm gonna say like 270. I have no idea. So I don't know. I'd love to get it dynoed though. So anyway, yeah, as you can see, it works. Well, I think we're gonna call it for the video. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. This is probably going to be a longer video. I haven't even edited it yet. I haven't even edited it yet, but I have a feeling it's probably going to be a long one. But as you can see, the car runs and drives. I've been getting a lot of questions about people. Is that our timer?
Yeah.
Uh-oh. We're late for pickup. I think we'll be okay though. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one, which is probably going to be cutting a hole in my spare hood so the supercharger can stick out of the top. And then after that, we'll probably do the exhaust because it's not done. It's just dumping right underneath my camera lady here's seat. So that'll probably be one of the next ones. So thanks for watching, guys, and see you in the next one.